Robert, I want people to understand how deeply you care about this work. I know you do many things. I know we all know you're very successful, you're very wealthy on and off the football field, but there's something about this work that lights you up in a way that you say you've never felt before. Why is this so important to you?
Well, I sort of live the American dream. You know, I went to Columbia College on scholarship, went to Harvard Business School, full fellowship. My family, we rented an apartment, and I've lived the American dream. And, you know, I was privileged. I had a big dream to own the NFL team in my home market. I had a greater opportunity to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. There are 32, and to do that. And God's been good to me, and life's been great, and I really think it's because of America and the country we have here. With all our problems, you know, it's still the greatest place in the world. But I think I'm probably the oldest person in this room, except for this cool dude who's got me by a decade. But I've never seen what's going on in the country over the last few years. It started with Charlottesville, and to see in the United States of America men carrying signs dressed as Nazis saying Jews and blacks won't replace us.
Yeah.
And then, you know, what happened in the Tree of Life in 2018, when people go in a house of worship, and it's the largest killing in any house of worship in the history of the country, in the year 2019 or 18.
18.
And you know, think about it. Anyone going to synagogue today, there's an armed policeman in front and inside. And this is the United States. This shouldn't be happening here. And the hate that's going on everywhere, to me, it's changing the nature of the country. And so when I got this Genesis Prize in 2019, there's $1 million prize that goes with it. I try to find a charity to give it to fighting anti-Semitism and all hate. And I couldn't find one that was executing on the ground. You know, most of them are either academic or confrontational.
So you said, I'm going to do something.
Yeah.
Because the difference is we all see what you see, though, Robert. We all see it. But most people don't act on it. So you have the means and you have the passion and the desire to do it. And I'm trying to figure out why. Why is it that you were so deeply affected by this?
Well, because I'm thinking what's important to me are my kids and grandkids and my heritage people. In my lifetime, we had the privilege, think in 2,000 years, to have our homeland where we lived 3,000 years ago and driven out in diaspora. It was created again, and I wanted to try to preserve the values that allowed that to happen. And that's to me, it's my family, and then it's the New England Patriots winning football games. And then it's side by side to that is this foundation to try to preserve. I'm worried. What's going on now in America is like what went on in Germany in the 30s.
Yes.
And I don't want the 40s happening here.
Yes, yes.
And we need to stand together, arm in arm, like with this great gentleman here and what he did. And I thought, you know, when I saw him speaking and the influence he had on Dr. King, who I just thought was one of the most eloquent leaders and speakers, that 60 years ago, they were saying silence doesn't work. You've got to speak up.
Yes.
And it's the same thing now. And it really bothers me that everyone is staying in their lane, and we need more people
To come together.
coming out and speaking out, people are afraid. I don't know if it's social media or what, but they're afraid to stand up and be counted.
Well, it's like what you say in the campaign. Hate thrives on silence. Hate travels fast. When you stand up to silence, you stand up to all hate. And I think, Dr. Jones, I don't think people realize the closeness and the solidarity between the civil rights movement and the Jewish community.
Oh, yeah. Let me just say, you know, sometime in 1962, maybe early 1963, I said to Martin King, I said, you know, Martin, I think you're a bad brother, so forth. But, you know, I said, let's be realistic. I said, you know, we Negroes, we're only 12% of the population. And I said, there's no way we can do handstands all we want. There's no way we're going to get 12% of the population is going to get 88% of the population to do something it doesn't want to do.
Yeah.
And he said, well, Clarence, that's why you have to work. I said, no, there's not. I said, there's something, you know, I said, so I made that statement to him. And then I'm not a bashful person, very gregarious, so I remember.
You're not bashful?
First, so I remember being someplace, don't ask me exactly where it was, but I remember it was a demonstration. And I went over and I saw these white people, and I said, excuse me, why are you here with us? And they knew who I was. And they said, Attorney Jones, you and your Dr. King should know that we're here because it was a woman who spoke to me first. He says, this is what my grandpa and grandma would want me to do. So I didn't quite understand what she was saying. You see, you and your Dr. King, Mr. Jones, should know that my grandpa and grandma, they died in the Holocaust. And I listened. And we're here supporting you because this is what they would want me to do. So I paused for a moment. And this sort of internalized, and I began to tear up a little bit. And I went back to Martin, and I said, you know, Martin, I said, you know, maybe from 100 yards distance, all white people look alike. They look white.
They all look alike?
They all look alike. I mean,
they're all
look
white?
like they're all white. That's what I was trying to say. I said, but when you get up close and personal, you know.
I've never heard anybody say.
No, when you get up, saying, all white, from 100 yards, all white people look white. That's what I'm trying to tell him. He says, yeah.
Tom Brady doesn't.
Okay. No, I'm saying,
yes, Tom Brady doesn't. Yeah.
no, but I'm saying, that's how I said, but you know, when you get up close to them,
Yes.
they are white, but some of them are different. See, what do you mean? They self-identify themselves as Jews, as Jewish. And this is what they told me consistently, repeatedly. And he said, you're kidding me. I said, I am not kidding you. Now, I have to tell a story that just says it all. It was Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel's 65th birthday. And he had been invited up to the Catskills by a conservative rabbinical assembly. And Dr. King told me the story. He accompanies Rabbi Joshua Heschel to the Catskill Mountains. And they walk into this room, this banquet room, and there are like 750 or more rabbis, all dressed in the same garb, holding arms. And as Dr. King and Rabbi Heschel walked to the middle of the room, they began to sing in Hebrew, "We Shall Overcome." Dr. King and Rabbi Heschel stand there sobbing. Martin says, Clarence, I expect you would anyway, but when you hear some of our brothers and sisters mouthing anti-Semitic stuff, you tell them that story. You tell them that story. So I'm sharing you. That's the most conservative rabbinical assembly in the Catskills. When Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel and Martin King came to the middle of the room, they sang, "We Shall Overcome." It was like the national civil rights anthem. They sang it in Hebrew.
That would bring you to tears.
They just stood there and sobbed.